Shalom Alochun. Greetings, one and all. I'm Doro Kostake. I'm the principal and the academic dean of Nisibis Assyrian Theological College, and I'm also a professor of theology and spirituality here. In a previous video recording, I mentioned the fact that this coming semester, semester 2 of 2026, I will be teaching a dual course, Christian Apologetics for undergraduate students and Faith and Science for graduate or postgraduate students. What I did in that video, and I'll put the link in the description, is present my own background in the field, my research, but also some of the sources I will be addressing through this semester. I thought, however, that it would be also good to give you a sense of the structure, what we'll be going through week after week. And this is pretty much the object of this new video, a breakdown of structure. So the first week, there will be a bit of an introduction, of course, into the, let's say, behind the doors kind of work of this course unit, especially for the students who take it for credit, a bit about assignments and that. But there's an introductory lecture scheduled for this first week too. It's called The Brave New World and Its Challenges, where I'll be talking about, say, some of the issues that emerged in modernity and the various crises faced by believers in this new world. Second lecture, so the second week, I'll be giving an introduction to Christian apologetics. What do we mean by it? And its connection, at least in the current format, with the modern culture wars. I will be trying to show that apologetics can be done in a variety of ways, some more traditional than others, and that in reality, Christian apologetics is such a complex topic, an area, an approach, if you like, that it cannot be reduced to, say, dismantling the enemy and so on and so forth. There are more constructive ways, and I will be giving examples from church fathers like Theodore of Mopsuestia or Saint Gregory of Nyssa or Saint Maximus the Confessor, just to give you a sense of the variety of approaches. But the lecture will be much more complex than this. It has a strong historical component too. Then the third lecture, Faith and Science Beyond the Conflict Narrative. Culture war is symptomatic for the idea of a conflict between faith and science, reason and faith, and so on and so forth. And I will be endeavoring to show that traditionally for at least Eastern Christians, it's not always about defending ourselves from the attacks of the enemy and so on and so forth, or attempting at canceling each other, and that in reality there are wiser ways, very discerning ways of addressing matters of complexity. And again, I'll be giving examples from Theodore of Mopsuestia and Saint Maximus the Confessor, a Byzantine saint. Now, the next 4 lectures will be dedicated to the topic of science-engaged theology. This is a new concept launched in around 2020-21. But my feeling is that behind the cover of this new concept, science-engaged theology, we actually are given an opportunity to speak about very traditional ways of doing stuff, at least according to the tradition of the Church Fathers. So, first of all, I will be introducing the field science-engaged theology as it's construed today, and there are various approaches relating to this field. So that's lecture 4. Lecture 5 will give you a couple of examples of modern implementations of this methodology, even before the concept of science-engaged theology emerged. Those two examples are from my tradition, Eastern Orthodoxy. One of them is a theologian from my homeland, Romania, Father, now Saint Dumitru Stăniloae. The other one is an equally saintly person, Panayotis Nellas, a Greek theologian. And this will be somehow, illustrations of how this approach of science-engaged theology might work. In Stăniloae's case, in terms of physics and cosmology, and in Nellas's case, in the context of biology and anthropology. Both of them operated very traditionally, but taking in consideration matters of modern science or the modern sciences. Lecture 6, also part of this series on science-engaged theology, will give you examples from late antiquity and the early Middle Ages. And again, I have illustrations, examples from a variety of traditions, like again, Ma Theodore of Mopsuestia, the Cappadocian Fathers. I'll be giving you a bit of history of the school of Nisibis, as was re-established by Ma Narse at the end of the 5th century, and his successors, one of whom, a thinker, a head of the school in the 6th century, Barhad Beshaba, will be prominent, will feature prominently in the lecture. And of course, I'll be going through his work, The Cause of the Foundation of Schools. But I'll be finishing this lecture by giving examples of implicit science-engaged theology in Mabawei the Great, another head of the school of Nisibis at the end of the 6th century, early 7th century. And I'll be giving you examples from not a scientific treatise or a philosophical treatise, but from his Book of Union, to see how these authors, especially Mabawei, were able to integrate the available knowledge from the sciences or philosophy or other areas of human creativity into the theological discourse in order to make the discourse digestible, intelligible, more effective in its communication to certain, let's say, educated audiences. The last lecture from this series for week 7 will give you examples of contemplative approaches from the early Christian centuries. This is more drawing on my own research, and my two examples are Clement of Alexandria and Athanasius the Great of Alexandria. In both cases, I was able to identify in their writings, of course, approaches that were very complex, integrating scientific philosophical information into a structure that was meant to bring the world closer to believers in the 2nd century and the 4th century, respectively, so that people could not fear the world, the phenomena, and so on and so forth, but integrate that knowledge, that awareness of the world into a broad, complex theological mindset. Now, in week 8, we'll have a guest lecture. This will be offered by Professor Volker Menzer from the Central European University in Vienna, Austria, who is also a member of our faculty, who will be giving us some sketch of the history of missions of the Church of the East uh, in China during the Tang Dynasty, where, by all intents and purposes, Assyrian and Persian missionaries engaged the scientific culture of China, medieval China, in order to communicate certain theological concepts like creation, the Spirit of God operating in creation, and so on and so forth. So exciting stuff. Then, week 9, um, I'll have a double sort of event. On the one hand, I have two guests, um, the leaders, the chairpersons of the two organizations specializing in faith and science in Australia and New Zealand, respectively, Dr. Nicola Hoggard Cregan from New Zealand Christians in Science, and the Reverend Dr. Chris Mulherin from ISCAST, the Institute for the Study of Christianity in an Age of Science and Technology, Australia. They will be introducing the activity of the two organizations and will point us to certain resources that can be serviceable, useful to us in our own ministry, pastoral approaches, and so on and so forth. So this lecture is called Resources for Cogent Christians. But then the second part of this session, I will be offering a brief lecture on one description, multiple interpretations, again, drawing on my own research, where I try to propose a way of integrating or bringing together, bridging, if you like, scientific knowledge and theological or faith-based insights into a vision of reality where we can all coexist harmoniously, scientists, believers, poets, artists, workers, tradespeople, and so on and so forth. Then, week 10, I will be giving you something that has become a bit of an obsession of mine in recent years about new trends within the various sciences that lead towards what I call a mystical turn in contemporary science. So I'll be giving you a few examples of scientists who ask philosophical questions, sometimes theological questions, and who no longer entertain the dominant paradigm of the modern era, according to which positivism dominates, materialistic and quantitative assessments are the only things important. So scientists who think otherwise and who crack the door, as it were, for a conversation with us believers. Then the final two lectures are a bit of, let's say, a hypothetical proposal on my part. Week 11, I'll be talking about what kind of proofs of God are we seeking. And I'll be introducing the concept of the physics of immortality, which doesn't belong to me, but I have appropriated it and redefined this concept. And I'll be looking at the experiences of the saints, and first and foremost, the resurrected body of our Lord Jesus Christ as heralds of a different kind of understanding of reality. Week 12, it's a very speculative conclusion. I'll be trying to bridge the gap and hypothesis as to how we can represent, for example, the doctrine of creation in our day and age, the traditional doctrine of creation, as we have it outlined in the Nicene Creed, for example, and in the scriptures. Yeah. How can we represent it within the context of our scientific age? Well, I hope you'll enjoy it and feel free to join either as audit attendees or as students for credit. Thank you.